I'm going to slap this into the beginning of every single video for a little while. So it has come to my attention that a lot of people are watching my content here on the anime channel, and I do appreciate that very much. However, it seems that not a lot of you have subscribed. It is completely free to subscribe, and it does help me out a lot. So it would be very appreciated if any of you that are watching any of my content, including what I see is surprisingly the highest watched content on my channel, don't be ashamed. Just hit the subscribe button and help a brother out. You know, I'm struggling as it is over on the gaming channel, and I wanted to try and bring this new project to people, and it would be much appreciated if you just hit that subscribe button, the like button whenever possible, and yeah, because the percentage of you that aren't subscribed that watch the content do help out based on views, but not as much based on, you know, what could help more adding to the subscriber count. I'm sure if people actually did hit that button, we could hit 1K in no time. So, yeah. I do thank you if you could hit that button. And with that said, let's move on into whatever review we're going into. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's Showtime, it is Blazer King, and we are back with another and the final episode of anime reviews off top of my head. There was supposed to be a Promised Neverland up today, but apparently... Oh, wait, what do we know with it? Yes, it did. But apparently, Hulu didn't want to put up Promised Neverland today for some reason or another. So, this is gonna be, you know, V through Z, and an extra, at least one anime that I had forgotten to review, because either it was already on my list and I forgot that it was what it was and not something else, or I just didn't even have it on my list to begin with. I don't remember. But, anyway, I'll delete that timestamp. We're gonna start off with Vampire Knight, which basically is the cooler version of Twilight, I guess is the way I could put that. You know, you have your... It's not a normal high school, mind you. It's an academy that separates its human and non-human schoolmates. And show basically goes how you'd expect, but a little different. I'm explaining this weird. A girl joins the school, you know, for the human side, and takes an interest in a couple of people, namely one person who is her compatriot in defending the border between night and day class, as it were, and one of the vampires in the night class. And they all, you know, get close and friendly with each other, and some things are discovered along the way about her classmate from the day class that, if you've seen basically any anime within, you know, the mid-2000s, you know where this is going. But, yeah, it has its romance, it has its fight scenes, its blood, its, you know, some people attacking her, some people attacking the good guys who seem like they're supposed to be bad guys just because they're vampires. Ooh, racism. Yeah. But it has two seasons to it. One of them is, you know, called something else because it's just one of those shows that wants to call the second season something else, kind of like how Fooly Cooly did. But I also haven't seen the third season of Fooly Cooly yet, so can't really say much about that. But that was all the way back in F's. But as far as this show goes, the romance aspect is the usual, you know, girl torn between two lovers thing, and occasional people get in the way that want to try and get into her pants and stuff just to try and piss the other two off. and they're fighting each other over her, and she's just kind of like, uncomfortable. But they're all friends, kinda, sorta. But the romance aspect is just that. The action slash fight scenes, not too bad from what I remember. The plot is decent. You know, a couple of dark twists that make it more entertaining here and there. So, like, I read both things, honestly, in high school. I read the manga of this, or at least the first few chapters, and I chose to read Twilight because, honestly, I would have rather read some dribble like that than some bullshit book that they're going to force me to read for English class. And honestly, I will just put this out there that was one of those cases where the books were far superior to the movies. I haven't put myself through watching all the Twilight movies, but man, just based off the first one, she did so much better with the books than the movies. But that's on another topic entirely. Vampire Knight, if you're into that kind of teenage melodrama, basically if you like 90% of the shows on the CW over the past decade, you'll like this anime. And yes, that is exactly how I'm going to put it. Next we have XXXHolic, which I actually don't remember a lot about this. I think it was kind of like Hell Girl, where a woman takes requests from people and helps them with their personal troubles. Not in as much of a supernatural manner, but in kind of a shamanic manner from what my memory serves. And there's a guy who stumbles upon what she's doing and ends up helping her. One of those things. I could be completely off base because it has been so long since I saw this show. Like, near 20 years, honestly. I probably watched this when I was a teenager, so that was... Okay, well, near 20 years, 15 years ago, whatever. It was somewhere in that time period. I don't remember a lot about it, so I can't give the best review off the top of my head. I could go look at the synopsis, but you know what? I think giving my guesstimate of it is the best I can do, and if I'm wrong, you guys can comment down below and let me know if I should check it out again. I think it was one of those shows that was worth at least a few episodes. But again, I've said that about like 90% of shows from all of my reviews so far. Next up, we're going to go into something that I haven't seen the final season of yet, but I do plan on watching it soon, hopefully. I should have watched it last month, for the whole Valentine's Day theme that I have mentally going on as far as, like, shiny hunting and anime watching goes, but I didn't. But hey, it's also partially a comedy anime, so I could watch it, next month. Even though apparently the last couple episodes made some people all sad and stuff. Whatever. But we have my teen romantic comedy SNAFU, which obviously the Japanese name is a lot longer and more confusing, so I'm not going to bother to go into that right now. But this show is about your typical outcast who takes the whole intimidating guy look and uses it for his best ways, I guess. But he's eventually forced into a club with a girl who's basically running the club by herself just so she can get some peace and quiet. And y'all know where this is going to go. And over time, the club actually becomes what it was originally meant to be, a club to help people with their problems. It starts with just the two of them, and then his childhood friend, yes, they're going with that trope, joins the two of them, and I think one other person joins them along the way. And over time, the two of them that started together got to know each other more, while the childhood friend was all like, but notice me too. And there's a whole bunch of, backline plot between the two girls, and that probably gets entirely unraveled in the third season, which I still need to watch, but this is also me basing my opinion off the first two seasons, which, based on me watching both seasons, will tell you exactly what I think of what you should do with this, but I'll continue explaining anyway. And the main girl is your typical tsundere, and his childhood friend is, your typical hyperactive, kind of hot type of character who's into him more than he knows or cares to admit. In the beginning, he's all like, yeah, whatever, I want to just keep to myself and continue to keep to myself and all that shit. But you know how it goes. Eventually, he ends up opening up more as he's helping his classmates with these two girls and starting to realize that, shit, I might actually want to try and get a happy ending. Though that was entirely his goal. He doesn't want to try to get a girlfriend unless it's going to be the one. Which I completely relate with that, for the record. Like, I don't want to just try and get any girl anymore. At my age, I want it to be, either the one or just, a friend I can see where it goes while we have some fun, that type of deal. But this review is not about me. I do relate to this guy, though, minus the childhood friend thing, because my childhood friend I could have had a thing with, kind of. Fate had other plans for that. But again, beside the point. Anyway, the second season helps the main girl figure herself out as well along the way and make her realize that, maybe I can be a little bit more open with this guy and not be such a bitch. So near the end of that season, the three of them had their little squabble, and at least at the end of that season, they decided to remain friends. But I've seen what happens at the end of the third season, and that is what makes me want to watch it to see how that happens. And if you guys have Twitter or Facebook or anything, you probably also know the ending by now. But if you haven't seen the show at all, and because the ending might have ruined you wanting to watch it, I still recommend watching it, because it's like, I compare it to Toradora, honestly. It has that vibe to it, except for the girl he ends up with is a lot hotter than that midget. Is it politically correct to say? I don't care anymore. Because both of the girls he has options to in this, definitely hotter than, well, at least the girl the guy in Toradora actually ends up with. So yeah, I recommend checking out at least the first season, like, in its entirety. 12 episodes, not that much, and you'll get a few chuckles along the way, if nothing else. I know bits like that most people would cut out, but laziness in editing. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. Who knows? Probably not, though, because, again, laziness in editing. You can, fast forward 2 seconds if the sound of my straw rubbing up against rubber is too much for you. Anyway, next up, we're going to roll into the first season of Yu-Gi-Oh! Not season 0, because I have not finished it yet. I did watch most of it, but I haven't finished it yet. But when I do finish it, I'll let you guys know. But the first season of Yu-Gi-Oh! Well, first series of Yu-Gi-Oh! From start to finish. Alright. So I just rewatched the first season of the original Yu-Gi-Oh! And also caught up to a majority of Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged. Though apparently Little Kuribo took down a couple of episodes for some reason or another. Whatever. Also, I really can't wait for another episode to come out, because he started the new season, and that's definitely, even if you don't like Yu-Gi-Oh!, go watch Little Kuribo's Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged, because it is some funny stuff. Even for the jokes being kind of timely, it's some funny stuff. But back to the actual review. Season 1, Duelist Kingdom. Where the actual rulebook of Yu-Gi-Oh! Just kinda got tossed out the window for the most part. You had high-level monsters being just summoned all willy-nilly, fusion monsters being treated like regular monsters 99% of the time. Rules being made up just basically on the spot for a lot of the, cards being used. Like, don't even get me started on the Paradox Brothers. But for a hit of nostalgia, it still keeps up to being entertaining, even if now the entertainment comes from laughing at it because of how ridiculous half of the stuff is. And a lot of references in the dub also are very laugh-worthy, even if 4Kids kind of cut out a lot of the best stuff. Which, while I'm on that topic, speaking of Yu-Gi-Oh! And the dub and rewatching it, what the hell is with Netflix cutting out a majority of the series? Like, they cut out one of the best arcs, for one. They cut out the whole virtual world arc after Battle City, which I'll get into in a minute. They cut out the tournament right before the last arc. What the hell, man? Netflix, get on yo shit. Hell, Netflix doesn't even have all of some of the best anime. Like, One Piece is dubbed way further than what Netflix actually has. Detective Conan, they just have random arcs or episodes here and there. But this isn't about me bitching about Netflix. I keep getting distracted. Anyway, the Duelist Kingdom arc still has its entertainment value, regardless of, the dub and 4Kids cutting everything to shit for the most part. If you watch the sub, it makes a little more sense half the time. Like when the security guards point guns at people, it's in the dub it's basically just this. But in the sub they're actually holding weapons, or same thing with when Bandit Keith jumped onto the balcony and pointed his finger at Pegasus's head. Yeah. The entirety of the Duelist Kingdom arc was entertaining, as I said. That's about it. Like, if you just want to watch some random bullshit go on with card games, then, start with the first season. Still good stuff, even to this day. Even if you're just watching it to laugh or make yourself feel smarter about how the current state of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is and how stupid it is to today's standard. Anyway, second season of the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Filler. The important part of the second season is the Duelist Kingdom, the Battle City tournament. Which consists of, Yugi and his friends coming across some new enemies who are trying to gather the Millennium items. And oh god, what are they trying to do? Oh yeah, the same thing they do every day. Try to take over the world. So the season's pretty slow, doesn't make a lot of sense, but at least they take back in some of the rules. Some of the fusion monsters are still normal summoned instead of fusion summoned. That's still kind of dumb, but at least they do more fusion summons now than before. The whole premise of gathering 6 locator cards. Other people have pointed this out before, but it's kind of dumb because what if you get 2 of the same locator card? Then are you just going to have to kind of toss it back at the person and go find another one? Like, the hell's up with... What is the chances that you will get 6 different locator cards? Like, at the very least, at least involve a little plot where it's like, hey, do you actually have a different locator card? Yeah. What do you have? It's like, oh shit, we have the same one. Deuce? Though I should kind of pan back a little bit and say that one character from the best filler arc started being a reoccurring character, even though he's one of the worst reoccurring characters after the best filler arc, being the Dungeon Dice Monsters thing. Because honestly, as you can tell on my gaming channel, I still love Dungeon Dice Monsters. It is a really cool concept that I wish had kept up. Like it seems silly. It does, but it's also cool in other ways. But it basically was just an arc of the anime that ended up being a whole lot of plot device. And made Joey feel like more of a furry, but then during the Battle City arc, we have another recurring character start in near the end in Joey's sister, who he worked during the Duelist Kingdom tournament. I said Duelist Kingdom. I meant, did I say Battle City? Whatever. I'm getting confused. But Battle City, has a couple of filler episodes too that are completely moot and pointless. But some of the more intricate and interesting duels do take place during Battle City. There are some duels where the rules are completely thrown out of the window, like Yugi versus Arcana, where 90% of the card effects in that duel were not what they were actually supposed to be. But can't have a magic show without a little bit of bullshit, right? Yeah. Anyway, you go to the end where you have your typical, Yugi versus Kaiba shtick after a bunch of random duels that land people in the hospital and in the Shadow Realm and all that kind of stuff. And Shadow Realm is also dubbed language for Limbo. But honestly, the Battle City arc is still a much needed improvement over, how Duelist Kingdom was. And in the middle of the Battle City arc is one of those things I was mentioning a little while ago that Netflix took out for some reason, the Virtual World arc, which was another interesting concept that I kind of wish they had brought into one of the video games. Like, I'm not gonna lie, the Deckmaster thing, where different cards had different abilities that you could work with, while you were playing. And I really wish one of the video games had brought that in. Like, now, obviously, it's way too late unless they decide to add that in as a special mode to Legacy of the Duelist or something. But that was another one of my favorite filler arcs because it brought up bullshit with Kaiba's brother, who that's a whole different concept. The Deckmaster thing was cool though, in my opinion. Seems dumb to other people, but I thought it was a little cool when I was younger. I still do at this point, and I wouldn't mind, figuring out a way to make it work otherwise. I mean, hell, it's less stupid than 90% of the rules actual Yu-Gi-Oh has, like I said before. But yeah, anyway, it's basically down to Yugi saves the day again, and the world is at peace for another, year. And after that year, we come into season 3, which involves a bunch of mythical dragons being awoken from stone due to a seal, and this was another one of the sillier arcs of the anime, even though it was more canon than most of the other shit. To where uh, honestly, I cared. Like, this was a good arc, but it wasn't the best arc. It's basically just the same kind of concept from Battle City, where someone's trying to take over the world, but they need the god cards to do it, and they also need a bunch of people's souls. So, they take old characters and new characters and send them against the good guys and try to take their souls, and The coolest part about this was probably the whole duel between Joey and Valen, where they basically got bodysuits of armor and started beating the holy shit out of each other. But otherwise, it was just because the dragons could fuse with basically any card, and it became a bunch of other random monsters, some of which were brought into the real game, some of them were not for obvious reasons, but this one can be skimmed along. Not skipped entirely, but skimmed along. Sorry. And the fourth season, and yes, I am just going to skip over how it ended, because the last duel of the season was just completely dumb, because it involved the main bad guy basically using the same 4 monsters and powering up his last one over and over and over again until I had infinite health, or infinite attack points. And then they had to pull the whole infinity +2 thing, and it was silly. But the 4th season, which, again, as I explained, Netflix just didn't even bother to upload, was different. You know, one of the things that most anime lack nowadays. Sorry. In the form of a tournament arc. You know, kind of like how Battle City and Duelist Kingdom had, but not as good, and the plot was also dumb. Because it was just some whiny French guy wanting revenge against Kai by using his little brother as another plot device to try and beat up on Yugi and take the crown of King of Games, and that really didn't work well. So, yeah, that's basically that. There were a couple of good deck types that I found a little interesting throughout that arc. Can't tell you what I remember specifically about what they were. The only one I remember is the Valkyries and the Fairy Tale deck, which were interesting in their own right, minus that last duel, but... Then we move into the final arc. Jesus. Sorry, talking for so long has this going on, I guess. Then we move into the final arc of the first series, being the return to Egypt, which this one doesn't really involve duels up until the ending. It's just literally all plot. You know, you have Shadow Bakura as your main antagonist, finally. Him going after Yami and his friends, who are on the way to reveal the Pharaoh's true name, and then there's other timeline shit going on where the Pharaoh is trying to stop Shadow Bakura from doing stuff that's evil, and it's just a lot of plot, and I do remember it all, I just don't know exactly how to word it. There's basically no duels till the end, like I said, except for probably near the end before that duel, where the Pharaoh and Shadow Bakura had their duel of Dark Master Zork, or whatever the giant monstrous enemy was that was going to destroy Egypt, and the Egyptian gods saving Egypt from that creature with the assistance of Dark Magician and Blue Eyes and etc., etc., etc. Then in the final duel, you know, Yugi and the Pharaoh had their own little outing, and it was honestly one of the more fun duels of the entire series. A couple of things were odd, but it was probably one of the most straightforward, straight-laced duels that actually followed the rules for the most part. Can't say that about everything, because I don't remember the last duel that well. Maybe I'll just, like, watch it for fun sometime, but it wasn't a bad arc. It was actually one of the more interesting arcs because it was 90% plot and explained a lot of shit that was going on that nobody would have had a clue about before. And they eventually found out the pharaoh's name, and he was able to return to Egypt peacefully. At least for what we thought, but... Okay, after talking for 15 minutes, I need another drink, so do excuse me. Next, we're going to go on with Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, which I don't remember a lot about this one, so I'll basically just go through the whole spiel of it instead of bit by bit. Mainly because Legacy of the Duelist didn't actually cover the whole arc of GX. So, starts with Kid Jane Yuki, who's late for his entrance exams into Duel Academy, faces one of his future teachers, wins, gets into the academy, because he's the main character, so of course he's going to win a lot in the beginning. And that basically transpires to the next probably half the season being just him dueling people, gaining their respect, meeting new friends, and going through shenanigans to make sure he doesn't get booted out of the school, like facing Paradox. Oh, I'm sorry, Paradox. And then after the first season, things get more serious, where he has to team with his classmates to face a bunch of new enemies called the Shadow Riders, who, if you want to see about all this, go check out my Legacy of the Duelist playlist over on my gaming channel. And, well, it makes sense for all of his friends to win their duels and be able to protect their keys to make sure nothing bad happens from these Shadow Riders. Half the time, Jaden needs to come in and save the win and duel the people for his friends because his friends suck at what they do. Sorry. And then at the end of that whole shebang, he has to face one other final big badass enemy who ends up, spoiler, being another teacher of his who has some problems of his own going on, so he ends up raffle stomping his teacher, and his teacher gets turned into an orb of light and just drifting away. I don't think he actually died or something. I don't think he was ever actually alive, for the record. Who knows? But that helps in other plot stuff later on. Wait, was this before or after that? I think this was before the Sacred Beast arc, which came afterward, where there was a cross-school tournament, a tournament of sorts going on, where basically it ended up in dual zombies because people's spirits got contaminated, and the Sacred Beasts, which are the equivalent of the God cards, but even more dumb on how to use them and stuff. And then an old man gets turned into Tarzan, basically, and that becomes a whole other, 3 or 4 episode duel for some reason or another that was okay, but a lot of the duels in this series were just okay. Even though Elemental Hero was one of my favorite decks, period. Well, at least the deck that came up after this whole arc became one of my favorites. E-Heroes were great, but what came after was better. Or at least an extension of it. Because after that whole arc, they went into I think they went into the Shadow Realm, and they did duel a bunch of duel monsters to try and rein them in to stop doing douchey things, and in the end, Jaden ended up being the bad guy, so his friends had to save him from himself because of the actual bad guy of that season, Yubel, who was one of the first hermaphroditic characters in the Yu-Gi-Oh franchise. Look it up. In the dub, it's a dude. In the sub, it's a female. So that was a whole thing, and then after that was this Japanese exclusive season where Jaden went to find himself and then came back, and basically there was a dude trying to send him and his friends to hell. Literally, not the Shadow Realm, but straight up hell. So Jaden had to help fight that all off, and in the end of the season, it climaxed with him dueling against Yugi, to which it never had an official conclusion, but come on, we all know who won that. Jaden went home crying like a little bitch. And yeah, that was that for Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, which is almost as watchable as the original series, but we're gonna move on to the one that everybody hates. Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D's card games on motorcycles. Oh god, honestly, I've been talking about Yu-Gi-Oh! Too much, I don't even know how to put this. It introduced one of the last couple tolerable versions of dueling with synchro monsters. The plot was iffy. Kid from the suburbs goes to face his old friend in the... kid from the slums faces his old friend in the hoity-toity type neighborhood and whooped his ass in private to where nobody could recognize, and unlike in the first series, somehow nobody has a clue except for the guy who lost. So basically, as far as 5Ds goes, I'm not even gonna bother. Like, it was meh. I personally really liked 5Ds, I can't. 90% of the duels were involving the motorcycles, and that had the rulebook go out the window for the most part as well, and a lot of the duels were kind of entertaining to watch. Some of them were kind of stupid. Morphtronics is another one of my favorite archetypes of all time. But, 5Ds is one of those things where if you can't handle watching the first, dozen episodes, you probably won't like the rest of the series. Some of the plot points are mediocre at best. Good guys become bad guys become good guys. The people who you thought were good guys turn out to always have been the bad guys, which I guess already qualifies to what I just said, but it ends with kind of like how GX was. Yusei ends up fighting an old guy who, in this case, fuses with his other cohorts to become a young, strong guy because they were all machines or something like that. Basically, as far as the first 3 seasons of Yu-Gi-Oh! Or series of Yu-Gi-Oh! Goes, if you go to check out the whole Legacy of the Duelist Let's Play that I've done so far on the gaming channel, you'll get 90% of the story that I just explained, except for seasons 4 and 5 of the original Yu-Gi-Oh! And the last season of GX. So, as far as Yu-Gi-Oh! As a whole between those 3 series, even if you didn't watch it as a kid, it's still probably pretty enjoyable now. they get less entertaining as it goes on, but 5Ds is probably the last good one in my opinion. Because Zeal, Arc 5, VRANs, I have not watched any of those, and I might not, I don't know. But those are the only three relevant into the last thing I'm going to cover, which I won't even bother to give a timestamp to. Yu-Gi-Oh! Dark Side of Dimensions, which the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Did have a movie too, Pyramid of Light, which was and still will be to this day one of my favorite anime films. But as for Dark Side of the Dimensions, I don't remember a lot about it, obviously. I think the copy I did watch before was like cut up or something. But I also watched it in shitty quality with somebody using a camera to record it illegally. So shh, between you and me. But I haven't watched it since, so I should go back and watch it again. The only thing I will say that I do remember is I honestly took it as more of a comedy movie than a Yu-Gi-Oh movie because half the time it's about the three main characters meeting each other to duel one time traveling force or some random bullshit like that. I don't know. Like the movie isn't that long, so if you want to bother to watch it, go for it. No reason not to. At least if you liked the original Yu-Gi-Oh series. I even know enough about. You know what? Fuck, I may as well go into this next one. Yuru Yuri. Yuru Yuri was kind of like Lucky Star or Azumanga Daioh, but less silly. It's about four girls who just basically want to relax. Well, three girls who want to relax together, and another one or two kind of interfere in that to have their own agenda. It's a big comedy show with a couple of, well, guess the words I'm going to say next. Gay moments. A lot, not many of them are undertoned either. Half of them are literally just one of the characters imagining what would happen if two of her friends were into each other, and half the time that gives her nosebleeds. Now, this show is also three seasons long, and this is only based off from the first season, so I'm basically gonna put it like this to be quick, simple, and easy. If you liked Azumanga Daioh, Lucky Star, New Game, etc., check it out. It's pretty funny. Definitely worth watching. So we're gonna go to an older show, kind of like Yu-Gi-Oh! Actually, I think it came around the same time as the original Yu-Gi-Oh! From the same people who did Hunter x Hunter, Yu Hakusho, and it's one of those shows that if you don't know it, what the hell is wrong with you? Because even the filler arcs in this show were amazing. I'm not gonna go over every season because there was like 5 seasons for this too, and I already did that for Yu-Gi-Oh! Well, actually, I can give a quick rundown. Kid dies and becomes a spirit detective, so he has to go and arrest or kill people demons and the like, who are trying to do bad things to the human population. To which he's mostly successful, other than a couple of people who, instead of killing them, became his friends. Go figure. The Dark Tournament arc. Oh wait, no, the Dark Tournament arc came after the 4 Celestial Guardians. That was the next arc, which Yusuke and his friends needed to, climb a tower and face different enemies and go past trials and tribulations to try and rescue a princess who, spoiler, is related to one of his new friends. Which, that's another kind of trope I miss in anime. You know, they go to a location and have to fight through different powered enemies as they go along. Like, I miss tropes like that in anime. I really do. That and the tournament thing I really miss. Which, on the topic of tournament, the next arc is the Dark Tournament arc. Which is Yusuke and his friends competing as a team against other teams. And quick sidebar, the Yu-Gi-Oh! Dark Tournament video game for the PlayStation 2 was one of the best fighting games I've ever played in my life. Back to topic. The arc started off with Yusuke going at it with a big beefy guy he thought he could kick the ass of, but instead he got the shit kicked out of him. I also think I skipped over a whole other arc entirely that came before the Celestial Tower thing of him having to, like, earn praise and get trained by somebody who he had to also try and track down another demon. And yeah, I think that was before the Celestial. I need to rewatch the show, man. It's so good. I mixed up the arcs, but regardless, we're just gonna skip back to the Dark Tournament thing, because the arc where he had to track down a demon and find his senpai and stuff was, like, I think like 10 episodes long and held a little bit of plot relevance, but not as much as you'd think, except for, you know, the main, his senpai, who becomes the main character throughout most of the series. But back to the Dark Tournament arc, where, like I said, he and his friends have to form a team to face other teams in this tournament. That boils down to a lot of really good fights, a lot of really entertaining fights, some silly fights, some that don't make sense on how they went, including Yusuke getting into a fist fight with a drunken bastard. But it was honestly probably one of the better arcs of the show. And then it came down to his team facing against the big beefy guy's team, who he got his ass kicked by in the beginning. Well, at least of that arc. And that ended up being a really big thing that was really fun to watch. You know, one of those things where the main character thought he was going to lose, and that's like, oh, wait, power of friendship. Power of the people who need me. I don't remember if there was. I don't remember if the next one I'm about to mention is in the proper place. But then there's an arc where he has to. Wow, no, I was actually mixing that up for an arc in Bleach. Whoops. The next arc has to do with him and his friends trying to stop some portal, I think it was, from being ripped open between the human realm and the demon realm, and make sure nothing slips through. So to do that, him and his friends need to face a bunch of other enemies who have their own unique set of skills and powers, and they have code names and stuff. And that's a really fun arc, for the record. Like, I say like way too much. And that arc also ends in a really epic fight. It has a bunch of other really epic fights leading up to the final fight, but I also do just want to move on with this. And the last arc is him going to the demon realm, fighting in a tournament to become a contender for the next Demon King, because, spoiler, his father was the Demon King. So he competes in that tournament, meets some new people, finds some more issues in the demon realm than he thought there originally would be as far as politics goes. And yeah, another really good fight for the final episode. Well, final couple episodes. And then I think he bangs the childhood friend who's been in love with him the whole time. Eat a dick, stream elements. Encoding overloaded my ass. But yeah, anyway. Throughout the 5 or 6 arcs that this show has, every single bit of it is so damn good. Like, if you're around my age and haven't watched this show yet, what is wrong with you? Go watch it. Go check it out. Watch at least the first season. Not even a few episodes, just the first season, and see how you're into it. If you like shonen anime, this was a Shonen Jump manga turned into a really good anime. If you liked Hunter x Hunter and you haven't seen this yet, again, what's wrong with you? Go watch it. Go check it out. It's just that damn good. I'm just a touch out of breath, but we're going to go into the next one, which goes back into the magical girl portion of anime. Yuuki Yuna. So, you remember what I said a while back about a couple of other shows being magical girl shows that got pretty dark? This was another one of those. I don't remember a lot about it. I remember, a girl and her friends were able to become magical girls and went into a different realm to fight their enemies, kind of like in Madoka Magica. But unlike in that, it's not just, if they don't kill enough witches, they become witches themselves. No, in this one, it's the more they fight to defend their realm, or their planet, or whatever it was, the more they get hurt in real time. Which might be a little bit of a spoiler, but I just dropped on caring about spoilers for these reviews, honestly. If you're watching a review and not a live reaction, obviously there's going to be a little bit of spoilers. But yeah, somewhere like halfway through the season, or the series, the girls who are doing what they're doing find one of the original magical girls, and she's all like broken and comatose, and she can still talk to them through some sort of link or whatever, but she's not in good condition, and that makes them second guess themselves. It's like, should we really be doing this, even if it's for the betterment of mankind? But it's another one of those shorter shows, kind of like how Madoka Magica was originally, 12 episodes, and just so entrancing to watch after the first couple. Well, at least if you're into that kind of thing like I am. I just... If you've been able to tell anything from all the anime I have reviewed, magical girls, yanderes, and, girl love type anime, those are all the biggest things I'm into. And of course with your typical shonen stuff. But this is another one of those that if you're into those kind of things, do check it out, because it is worth watching in my opinion. As I keep saying, I've said that about a lot of shows, but... And... I was going to talk about Familiar of Zero. I honestly don't remember enough about it. I remember it was a girl magician trying to summon a familiar, and instead she got a guy brought into her universe, and that's about all I remember of it. So, I need to rewatch that. Or if anybody has already seen it, you can remind me on if I should bother with it. I think it is like 2 or 3 seasons to it, and I only saw the first one, so... And to end off, we're going to review a show that I had meant to review a while back, but apparently skipped over because I thought it was something else. But I also don't remember a ton about it. 7 Mortal Sins. which involves basically what's that? It involves the mortal sins, which are, you know, your typical sins, but involving fallen angels instead of actual sins. You know, like Belial and Michael and etc. At least I'm pretty sure Michael and like Raphael and all of them were in it, and they're all big tittied bitches. Uh, don't remember a ton about it. I remember that it was etchy. There were a lot of really good fight scenes. There was some gay shit going on. That's all I can tell you that I do remember about it. I might try to rewatch it sometime because it was pretty damn good. Yeah. It basically kind of had a Psycho no Quasar vibe to it in some parts, but with less titty sucking. And yeah. I don't know if this is the right timestamp I'm putting down for it, but I'll put it anyway. But as far as Seven Mortal Sins goes, it's one of those shows that, even though I don't remember a lot about it, I will remember that it was pretty good. The characters were not bad. Even though they were all hot women, but that's the whole ecchi part. So if you're into anime like Psycho no Quasar, High School DxD, My Sister, New Testament, etc., 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 check it out, watch a few episodes, see how you feel about it. The last episode, there was an extremely good fight between Belial and whoever the hell the other main antagonist woman was. So yeah, that is that. That has been the review of everything off the top of my head that I can currently remember. I will continue to bring to you reviews based on stuff that I have been watching recently, even though from here on it will be more spaced apart. That's why I'm also going to try and binge stuff that's like currently airing, so I can give reviews based on, you know, those shows as they come out, so I can at least try to bring you shit once a week if able, unless it's like how Promised Neverland was and skips an episode here and there. So as I explained in the beginning of this video, please do hit the like button and subscribe to this and the gaming channel. It helps out a lot. Not as many of you who are subscribed versus being not subscribed watches the content on either channel, and it helps out so much more to myself and the YouTube algorithm if you subscribe, as well as ring that bell to make sure you can follow along with all the content a lot easier as it comes out. Liking Facebook, following Twitter and Twitch also helps me out a lot, because sometime soon I might go live on Twitch with Amazon Video and watch some stuff with you guys. So if you follow along over there and even subscribe to me over there, which isn't free, so subbing to me here is definitely a lot easier. And yeah, that's about it. Oh, those are shadows. Sorry, I thought there was a wet spot on my roof. That wouldn't have been good. Yeah. That has been my A through Z anime review. I skipped over a couple of shows because I didn't feel they were relevant to review. So I look forward to bringing you guys more reviews based on stuff I have been watching. And I really hope you do help me out and hit that sub button and that like button and all that stuff. Till next time, it's been the Blazer King with King's Critiques. Signing out. Ta-ta for now. Peace.